Okay, I wanted to make a video about, a very popular idea, sort of, that basically states we need to get back to nature. We need to get back to the old days before civilization. That's what works. Um, Adam Hintz, I think, made a video just today called Rewild or Die, and it's just announcing his friend's book. It's basically this premise that we need to get back to the wild, we need to get back to nature and living that way if we want to survive as a species. And if we don't want to destroy the ecosystems of the world. Um, okay, so I mean, I agree and then I don't agree, so I have a couple. I go back and forth, sort of, on this subject, so I'm gonna try to flesh out where I don't think this is necessarily how we want to be framing the discussion. Um, because I don't believe that civilization is a 10,000-year-old tangent that we need to sort of end and get back to the old ways. I don't think that intuitively doesn't strike and ring a bell with me. Um, what does, I guess, is yeah, we do need to get back to nature, um, but in a different way. We need to get back, coming full circle, and not regressing. And I know some people argue, oh, you're just thinking in terms of progress. Well, not exactly. If you imagine time as like a spiral, then many times in history recapitulate and um, we come full circle a lot. But it's not a circle that just goes like this. It's moving. Time flows. It's not linear, but it's definitely directional like a stream. So I mean, this is my belief that time moves like this and that nature moves like this. So I don't think our 10,000 year experiment with civilization was a mistake, particularly because it wasn't like one group that did it and then forced everyone else to do civilization arose perennially. It was a very interesting phenomenon how it popped up all over the planet. Um, so that's the idea that I would like to explore more. Why did civilization arise? Aside from the idea that it's a mistake and we need to get rid of it, we need to dismantle it, what other purpose does it have? And to me, um, well, I mean, I'm coming from more of a Teilhard de Chardin and evolutionary aspect to civilization. I think civilization itself is a halfway point. I think it has an important dimension to nature because from civilization is the possibility of Earth having um, a kind of collective intelligence, a kind of global nervous system through human beings. Through us, we've developed these giant infrastructures that are destructive. They're destructive, but they are also, at the same time, I guess you could say, they have the potential to become more than destructive. And civilization is something that's a process, and it's not going to start perfectly. And it's only been 10,000 years, so relatively, it's been very brief compared to our years as hunter gatherers and our years just back within the jungle. So I think something else is going on. I think the idea that we are separate from nature and that we're destroying our environment and so on and so forth is very true. Um, but for some reason, we have catapulted ourselves into this new lifestyle that perhaps is unnatural, um, and we are adjusting and readjusting to it. And during this time period, there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be a lot of mistakes, and the flow of history, the flow of civilizations, will be, the rise and fall of civilizations that they as they go on and off. And there's sort of a natural evolution to human societies as they are gripping and grappling with this new mode of being, this new way of experiencing and structuring reality, this new way of interacting and creating societies where their consciousness is playing a more active role in imagining and creating and so on and so forth. So I think it's just a double-edged sword because knowledge can unite and create, and it can also divide. And we, as a very young species, are wrestling with that Janus-faced trait. To me, what civilization is becoming, which I think is very interesting, I mentioned the spiral before, but civilization, if the beginning of the spiral was us in equilibrium with nature, perhaps we're following some kind of natural, and this is where mythology comes in, a natural archetypal pattern of separation and reunion. Because what's going on with us, if you really think about civilization, it's the hero's journey. It's the hero's journey. It's also, it goes further than that because it's more spiritual in nature. But the hero's journey, archetypally, is about separation and reunion, leaving home and going home. So, in that sense, I see what we're doing as a leaving nature artificially and coming back to nature, and the rise and fall of civilizations between those two ends of or points in a spiral of history is us gripping and grappling with this problem of trying to find a balance with nature again, trying to find a balance with nature and the flowering of our consciousness. But I think there's actually a built-in dimension that we're barely aware of yet, and these archetypes that play out and how they're a part of nature and how our mythology is actually very much connected to natural patterns that exist previous to us and beyond us, is this idea of returning and coming back. But think of the new internet technology. Think of the new decentralized abilities that we're trying to develop, not just through the internet, not just through communication, but with every facet of technology. We're trying to make them autonomous, more vital, more organic, because those are the most efficient ways that we've learned. We've learned that this idea that a linear, blocky machine doesn't work. So now we're slowly and surely learning that nature knows best, but our technology can reflect and mirror nature over time. So we're beginning to see the dawn of a decentralized, networked civilization that does not depend upon hierarchical, kingship and bureaucracy and industry that is very centralized and thus very disconnected from the environment. Now, civilization itself in its structure is reflecting organic environments. I think this is very interesting, and I think this is the reason why, or perhaps part of the mechanism of what nature is doing and why nature has allowed us to think of civilization in the first place, to eventually flesh this out, and thus a new layer, a new dimension of nature is extended through human beings as a civilization, an organic one. And that's hopefully what we're heading towards. But that's my idea. Anyway, thanks.